Discover the incredible journey of a disabled Marine, 5 minutes that changed everything forever. Ethan stared at the familiar streets of Maplewood, his heart a tight knot of emotion. It had been 3 years since he returned home, shoulders heavy with memories of combat and loss. As a Marine veteran, the honor of service clashed with the daily struggles of being a disabled soldier. The town that used to celebrate his bravery now felt like a world away. He remembered parades filled with laughter and fireworks that lit up the skies. Now, they seemed like distant echoes of a simpler time. The 4th of July was coming, and in every corner of town, people buzzed with excitement. Families prepared for barbecues, friends gathered to plan the parade, and children counted down the days to the fireworks. Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this year, he could find a way to reconnect with the community that raised him. He wanted to inspire others, to show them that even through darkness, light is possible. But beneath his yearning lay fear of being seen as weak, fear of judgment. As the day approached, a local business owner made a misguided comment that echoed through town: "Why should we honor someone just because they're disabled?" It stung like a slap across the face, igniting doubt. Ethan's heart sank. The whisper of disapproval twisted through him, threatening to drown the hope he felt. He wanted to scream, to show them the sacrifices he made. But he held back, the weight of his experience stifling his voice. His family stood by him. His mother's gentle touch and his father's steadfast presence were anchors in this tumultuous sea of emotions. His younger sister stayed up late, talking about the parade and how proud she was of him. Their unwavering support was a balm on his wounds, but he still clung to shadows of self-doubt. The thought of facing the crowd felt like standing on the edge of a precipice. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A local charity stepped in. They wanted to spotlight Ethan's story, the story of resilience, the journey of a man willing to rebuild his life amidst adversity. Their initiative sparked conversations throughout Maplewood, challenging the town to reevaluate what it meant to value service and honor. Suddenly, Ethan found himself at the center of a whirlwind of support, but pressure mounted. Could he be the beacon of hope everyone expected? As the day of the celebration loomed closer, the anticipation crackled through the air. Ethan stood in front of the mirror, his dress blues crisp against his frame, but inside, turmoil churned. Would he stand tall, embodying strength, or would doubt pull him under when he needed to shine? An iridescent wave of possibility lay just beyond the horizon. As he stepped out into the public eye, would the town embrace him and his vulnerability, or would the weight of prejudice blur the spirit of celebration? The moment was approaching swiftly. What revelation would change everything on this pivotal day? The answer awaited just around the corner. The sun rose higher on the 4th of July, painting the sky a brilliant blue and casting a warm glow over Maplewood. Banners fluttered in the gentle breeze, and the sound of laughter sprawled across the streets, mixing with the smell of grilled meats and sweet corn. Ethan stood at the edge of his porch, feeling the pulse of a town alive with excitement. As the clock ticked toward noon, butterflies danced in his stomach. He took a deep breath, his mind racing through the various emotions that churned within him. Today was supposed to be about celebration, about honor, yet it felt more like standing on a tightrope, one side promising acceptance and pride, the other looming with harsh judgment. Each passing moment brought that sharp comment back: why should we honor someone just because they're disabled? The weight of those words pressed on him, heavier than the medals he wore. Ethan. His sister's voice broke through his thoughts. She bounded down the steps, a flash of enthusiasm wrapped in her red, white, and blue. You ready? Yeah, just thinking, he replied, forcing a smile. Her joyful spirit was infectious, but doubt still clung to him like a shadow. You'll be amazing, you know that? They're going to love your story. She clutched his arm, her gaze unwavering. He didn't respond, but the flicker of hope in her eyes gave him a moment of courage. The parade began with a flurry. Floats rolled by, kids waved sparklers, and laughter trailed behind like a ribbon in the wind. The crowd grew thick, and just moments before it was time for him to step forward, Ethan's heart raced. Families looked at him with a mixture of warmth and curiosity. He scanned the faces, some familiar, others strangers. Then he saw her. Mrs. Thompson, his old middle school teacher, stood there among the onlookers. When their eyes met, hers sparkled like the fireworks they'd all come to see. She had always believed in him, even when he sometimes didn't believe in himself. As he stepped onto the platform, something began to shift inside of him. Waves of applause surged from the crowd, and in that moment, they didn't see his disability but rather his spirit. The microphone felt cool against his hand, and with every breath, he found strength in vulnerability. I served in a place that taught me more about courage than I ever knew existed, he began, his voice firm yet shaky. But coming home was the hardest battle I've ever faced. I've learned that strength doesn't only lie in physical prowess but in the courage to keep moving forward, to accept help when you need it. As he shared his journey, Ethan felt the years of doubt begin to unravel, replaced by something real: connection. The crowd was listening, really listening, and as he spoke of love, loss, and the power of community, tiny sparks ignited within him. The words flowed, heavy with truth, light with hope. He looked into the sea of faces, and the apprehension began to fade, replaced by a sense of unity. Then he saw kids, parents, and veterans alike, all nodding, some with tears brimming in their eyes. As he finished, a thunderous applause erupted, louder than he could imagined. For the first time since returning home, Ethan felt accepted, felt his worth beyond his disability. But his speech was only the beginning. As the crowd cheering began to settle, Ethan realized something shocking: the battle inside him was only half fought. Because in that moment, he could sense the whispers around him shifting, not just about him, but about the very definition of honor and service in Maplewood. What would it mean for the town to embrace this change? Would Ethan find a way to lead them not just through celebration, but into a deeper understanding of sacrifice? The journey was far from over, and just then, another voice called out from the crowd, reshaping the atmosphere entirely. What came next would decide everything. Ethan's heart skipped a beat as the voice rang out. It came from a young man standing a few rows back, his arms crossed defiantly, a mix of skepticism and frustration etched across his face. "What about those of us who didn't get a medal?" he shouted, his words slicing through the celebration like a knife. A hush fell over the crowd, tension thickening the air. Ethan felt his pulse quicken, the exhilaration of his earlier triumph fading as the spotlight swung into an uncomfortable glare. Around him, heads turned, and conversations quieted. The rhythm of the parade shifted, replaced by an undercurrent of unease. Ethan took a deep breath, desperate for his voice to carry some kind of answer. He scanned the faces in the crowd, looking for his sister, hoping she'd find the right words to support him. But she was lost among the sea of expressions, some wide-eyed, others frowning. The weight of expectation pressed heavily on his chest. "Hey, I get it," Ethan finally called out, his voice shaky but resolute. "We all have our battles. Medal or no medal, every story matters. I just wanted to share mine to show that bravery comes in different forms." The young man's expression softened slightly, the skepticism wavering as he crossed his arms, but he remained silent. Ethan seized the moment, wishing to break the ice that had suddenly frozen the jubilant atmosphere. "Life's not easy, and the scars we carry, they're visible or hidden, but they're ours," Ethan continued, feeling the connection rekindle. "It's about finding strength in vulnerability, reaching out for each other, and understanding that we're all in this together, right?" The murmurs in the crowd began to shift again, slowly but surely. Some people nodded, while others leaned forward, intrigued. The heavy silence evaporated, replaced by the stirrings of dialogue, minds and hearts were beginning to open. Some days are great, and some days are dark. I've been there. We all have our version of not enough ringing in our ears. Ethan let the words linger, allowing a moment of reflection. Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence, softer yet eager. "You're right. We need to know each other's stories," a woman called out, her eyes shining with determination. "It's how we grow." Encouragement rippled through the crowd, as if they were all awakening to a collective realization. The earlier tension began to dissolve, and waves of applause began to rise again. Ethan could feel the warmth returning, strengthening his resolve. As the energy shifted, the young man who had begun the confrontation stepped forward. "Okay, you have my attention. What about those who feel forgotten?" His voice was no longer accusatory but rather a challenge, a call for understanding. Ethan met his gaze, heart racing, ready to dive into the depths of this dialogue. Every story deserves to be heard. And it's time we listen to everyone in our community, those who VE served, those who are here, those who need a voice. Together, we can redefine courage. The applause surged, building momentum like wildfire. Yes, this was more than a parade, it was the start of something crucial, something real. Beyond the celebrations, Ethan felt a flicker of realization deep within. Maplewood wasn't just a town, it was a tapestry woven with the threads of countless narratives just waiting to be shared. How far could they go if they truly embraced that idea? As the crowd cheered, and the young man offered a nod of respect, Ethan realized that they were standing on the precipice of a pivotal moment in town history, a chance to not just honor service in its many forms, but to dismantle prejudice and build empathy within their community. What would happen next? How would they begin to change the narrative, not just for Ethan, but for every voice in Maplewood? Would they rise together as one? The answer loomed just beyond the horizon. Ethan felt a surge of energy coursing through him as the crowd gradually transformed their expressions from skepticism to hope. The applause felt like a steady heartbeat, resonating with every promise of connection shared between them. He couldn't help but wonder how powerful it would be if they could turn this moment into something lasting, something that could shake the foundation of Maplewood itself. "Let us share these stories," he urged as the crowd quieted again. "I want to hear from each one of you, your experiences, your journeys. Who's had a moment that defined your courage?" A hand shot up in the front row. It belonged to a woman named Anna, known around town for her compassionate heart. "I've felt forgotten too," she called, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "After I lost my job last year, I struggled to find my way. Some days, it felt like I didn't exist." Ethan felt a wave of empathy wash over him. "Thank you, Anna. That takes courage to share." "You're not alone," he said, sensing the crowd leaning in, anchoring on her words. "I thought I was the only one," she continued, voice cracking. "But I've learned that reaching out actually helps, even when it feels impossible." The young man from earlier, still standing with folded arms, stepped forward again, his demeanor shifting. "You think you've got it rough? I got back from serving, but I felt like no one cared." His voice caught. "I've battled with my demons. Sometimes, I think I'm invisible." A murmur swept through the crowd, heads nodding in understanding. It was a revelation, that even the bravest among them could feel lost. Ethan gestured for him to continue. "Tell us more. What does feeling invisible look like for you?" He hesitated before speaking again. "It means going through life wearing a mask, smiling on the outside, but screaming on the inside." There was a moment of poignant silence before he added, "What good is a medal when you feel like you've lost your purpose?" The weight of vulnerability hung thick in the air, and Ethan felt the crowd draw closer. They were no longer mere spectators, they were participants in this fragile exchange of truths. "Let us break that mask together," he suggested, filled with an urgency that felt almost electric. "What if we created something, an event or gathering to share our stories regularly? We can have a safe space, open dialogue, we can remind each other we matter." Cheers erupted, excitement scattering through the crowd like wind igniting a fresh flame. The young man in front took a step back, surprised by the immediate hunger for change all around him. "Imagine if we put aside differences and united," Anna offered, her eyes shimmering with determination. "What if we used our stories to connect, to empower one another?" Ethan could feel the pulse of the crowd quicken, each heartbeat amplifying a shared desire to heal, to reach out, to stand tall together. "Let us bring this to town hall," someone yelled from the back. "Let us make it official." As the idea took root, an exhilarating rush spread through Ethan. They were no longer just talking about courage, they were igniting community, hope, and unity right before his eyes, but in the excitement, a gnawing fear tugged at Ethan's heart. What if they faced pushback? What if those who felt threatened by change refused to listen? Would courage grow stronger in their resolve, or would fear silence them once more? Unsettled yet inspired, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He closed his eyes for a second, envisioning the town he loved if they could shatter those walls of misunderstanding. "Maplewood is ready for this," he shouted, calling everyone to engage once more. "Are we ready to share? To listen?" A roar of agreement erupted from the crowd, echoing into the air as if they were fresher spirits taking flight. In that moment, Ethan realized something extraordinary was brewing. With every cheer and voice joining in unison, the future of Maplewood hung in the balance. Would they dare step boldly into the unknown together, hand in hand, with their hearts wide open? A thrilling question lingered in the air, waiting to be answered. What stories awaited them, just around the corner? Excitement buzzed through the air like electric sparks as Ethan surveyed the crowd, every face reflecting an eager glimmer of hope. They were ready, and he felt a flutter of determination swell in his chest. "Let us start planning it, right here, right now," he exclaimed, pumping his fist. "We can form a committee, choose a date, and find a space. We will put Maplewood on the map for courage and connection." Loud whoops and claps erupted from different sections, but he caught sight of the young soldier. He wasn't stepping back into the shadows anymore. Instead, he was stepping forward, his resolve visibly shifting. Ethan could see the wheels turning in his mind, the spark of interest igniting amidst uncertainty. My name is Jake," he finally said, raising his hand slightly as if testing the waters. "I'd like to help. I think it's time to stop just talking about it. I need to be part of something real." The room erupted in cheers again, but Ethan saw Jake's vulnerability, and it made his heart swell. He knew words could be fleeting, but action would anchor them all. "Thank you, Jake. That's what we need, people willing to take the first step into this new light," he encouraged, letting the words hang heavy in the air. "Isn't it strange?" Anna interjected, her voice soft but unyielding. "We all look around this room and see each other, yet we often forget to truly see each other. Sharing these stories will help us see not just our struggles, but our strength." Ethan noticed others nodding in agreement. They understood the weight of her words. Laughter and shared experiences would build bridges over their unspoken divides. While conversations stirred around him, he pulled out his notepad, jotting down ideas. He could feel the buzz of collaboration magnetizing them all, a simple act of commitment forming a community he once thought impossible. "What if we have themes for each gathering?" suggested a voice from the back, her enthusiasm infectious. "We could focus on resilience one month and healing the next." "Yes. Themes to guide our conversations and help us broach difficult topics," Ethan added, excitement thrumming through him. "Let us make these events a safe haven for people to share their truths." Papers could be heard rustling as they jotted down ideas. Ethan couldn't help but grin. This was the spark they needed. "Maybe we can even include creative outlets," Anna suggested. "Art, music, poetry, things that can speak when words fail us." Suddenly, Jake stepped into the spotlight, gripping the microphone with resolve. "I may not be a poet or a musician, but I can share my story, the battles I faced as a Marine. It was a long road. His voice quivered as he spoke, but he held his ground. I want people to understand the scars we carry aren't just physical. The energy in the room shifted, a palpable connection weaving its way through every listener. Ethan's heart raced. He could feel the crowd leaning in, caught in Jake's honesty and raw emotion. Let us make sure everyone knows they have a voice here, whether it's sharing a story, a song, or a painting. We need to invite everyone. Every story matters. Jake continued, his passion igniting further interest among the crowd. Ethan felt a bittersweet ache in his chest. They all had different experiences, but here they were, ready to take ownership of their identities and build something beautiful. As the ideas flowed, the vision became clearer. They would meet every month, fostering an ever-growing cycle of courage, connection, and creativity. Ethan could feel the weight of responsibility shift from his shoulders to the community, becoming a shared endeavor. But unresolved questions lingered in the recesses of his mind. What hurdles awaited them? Would the town embrace their initiative, or would opposition rise against their budding hope? As he looked around at the electric faces shining back at him, the adrenaline rushing through his veins, Ethan realized this was just the beginning. What happens if we're pushed back? He wondered aloud, the thought nagging at him. Would fear silence their growth or fuel their fire? The crowd quieted for a moment, the excitement suspended in the air as if they all held their breath. And then Jake spoke again, louder this time. If we stand together, we can break down any wall. Hope danced in his heart at these words, igniting a deeper desire in everyone present. But would it be enough when the storm came, just around the corner? As they began to discuss logistics, Ethan felt a sense of anticipation growing. What challenges would they face in pursuit of their dreams? As the discussions flowed, the energy in the room took on a life of its own. Ideas were tossed around like popcorn, quick, light, a little messy but undeniably exciting. Ethan felt the weight of a new responsibility settling on his shoulders, but he welcomed it. They would create something noteworthy, something that could thrive despite opposition. Jake stood at the front, visibly gaining confidence as he shared bits of his story, intertwining his struggles with the reason why he was choosing to step out of the shadows. There were plenty of days, he said, when I thought no one would understand. I locked my feelings away, thinking it was easier. But the truth is, I was suffocating. It took everything in me to realize that sharing could be my salvation. Anna leaned closer to Jake, her eyes shining with inspiration. We're all in this together, right? It makes me think of how important it is to connect, to tell our truths. It's time we stop being silent. Ethan nodded, feeling electrified by the collective desire pressing against the walls. He glanced at the clock. Their hour was nearly up, but they were nowhere near done. Let us have a brainstorming session right here, right now. He proclaimed, excitement bubbling in his words. People began to throw out ideas. Discussion themes morphed into workshops. A community art installation evolved into crafting shared memories through a storytelling wall, where everyone could add their narrative. The air thickened with ideas, each suggestion adding to the tapestry they were weaving together, but as the energy grew intense, so did Ethan's nerves. He couldn't suppress thoughts of doubt as they flashed through his mind like a slideshow. What if no one showed up to these gatherings? What if the town turned against them, mocking their effort for connection? Then he turned back to Jake, who was now sitting down, looking thoughtful but resolute. Playing it safe has never worked for me. Sharing my truth was terrifying, but it taught me something crucial, Jake confessed. Fear can either hold you back or propel you forward. We've all faced darkness in our own ways. Let us decide tonight how we want to face it together. Ethan felt a surge of warmth at Jake's words. Here was the essence of what they were trying to build, a community bonded through vulnerability and support. He raised his voice over the residual chatter. If we can put aside fears and embrace our scars, we can build something for everyone, something strong enough to withstand whatever challenges come our way. Here. A voice from the back responded, followed by rousing cheers. But in that local echoed excitement, the nagging questions persisted. Ethan couldn't ignore the inkling that they might not be welcomed with open arms. After all, this was Maplewood, a small town where news traveled fast and judgment hung like dusk. They wrapped up their meeting, making plans for the next gathering. As the crowd laminated paths of excitement, he caught Jake's eye. "Are you okay?" Ethan inquired, noting the flicker of uncertainty that crossed Jake's face briefly. "Yeah, just thinking, what if we face backlash? What if those who can't see the need for this voice show up to disrupt it?" Jake's honesty hung in the air like a dense fog. Ethan swallowed hard, nodding. "Those thoughts scare me too. But we shouldn't let fear dictate who we become. We could bring people together to share and heal. Maybe we can turn their fear into understanding." Together, they walked out of the community center, the chill of the night air greeting them and causing goosebumps to ripple across their skin. As they stepped outside, under a canopy of stars, both felt a little less burdened by their fears. But that weight still lingered, leaving Ethan with a question that gnawed at him. How would they handle the inevitable resistance? Would they remain strong when someone tried to tear them apart? As they stepped away from the building, headed into the unknown, a sense of anticipation sparked within him. This was just the start of a much larger and daunting journey. And even with the shadows lurking, he couldn't shake the feeling that the bright dawn they envisioned was, somehow, within reach. Would they be able to push through the obstacles waiting ahead, or would their dreams crumble under pressure? The next morning, Ethan awoke to the sound of a determined wind whistling outside. It felt like a promise, an echo of the night's conversations still swirling in his mind. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes and took a moment to collect himself. Today was the first real step towards bringing their vision to life, and alongside excitement, a wave of doubt crashed over him. He pulled on a jacket, the fabric rough against his skin. As he stepped out of his front door, the chill nipped at his cheeks. The streets of Maplewood were waking up slowly, punctuated by the distant laughter of children heading to school and the sharp sounds of leaves crunching underfoot. He made his way to the coffee shop, his mind racing with thoughts of Jake, Anna, and the group that had gathered the night before. Inside the cafe, the rich aroma of brewing coffee settled around him like a comforting blanket. He joined the line, scanning the menu but barely comprehending the choices. All he could think about was the storytelling wall they had conceptualized and if it would resonate beyond just their small circle. How do you share your story with the town when every corner feels charged with eyes ready to judge? Ethan. Anna's voice broke through his thoughts as she slipped into line beside him, her hair bouncing with enthusiasm. "You ready for today?" "Ready, I think," he replied, forcing a smile. "But the nerves are creeping in good." She beamed, her eyes dancing. "Nerves mean it matters. Besides, this is about connection. There are going to be people out there who need this just as much as we do. Think about holding space for someone else's pain." Her words washed over him like warm rays on a cold day. Yes, this was about connection. They were sharing their truths, and that could resonate with others. They grabbed their coffees and settled at a table by the window. They began to discuss logistics, materials for the wall, how they would convey the message to the whole town. Enthusiasm bubbled between them like froth in a cup, but every brainstorm was punctuated by lingering concerns of negativity. "Did you think about how we want to announce the first gathering? We need to reach as many people as we can," Anna suggested. Ethan nodded, gripping his cup tightly. "What if we do a flyer drop around town? Simple, clear message. Maybe, something like share your scar, inspire a story. You know? That's perfect," Anna said, her energy infectious. But then her expression faltered. "But what if someone tears them down? Or worse, what if people respond negatively?" "Yeah, what if," he whispered, a knot tightening in his stomach. Suddenly, the cafe door swung open, and a few regulars strolled in. Among them was Mrs. Henderson, an older woman known for her sharp tongue but also her kind heart. As she approached the counter, she turned and caught Ethan's eye. A smile creased her face, and a memory flickered to life. Last year, when he helped her carry groceries, she told him stories of her late husband, who had fought bravely in Vietnam. "Ethan, my boy," she called out, her voice warm. "I've heard some chatter about a gathering you're hosting. I hope it's true." He froze. What would she think of the storytelling wall? Would she embrace it, or dismiss it like town gossip? Gathering his thoughts, he met her gaze, determination rising within. "It is true, Mrs. Henderson. We're trying to build a space for everyone to share their stories." Her smile widened, lifting the weight of worry off his shoulders. "Good. You bring everyone together. That's what matters. I'll support you, you know." As she walked away, Ethan felt a flicker of hope ignite in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, there were more people like her, a mix of caution and encouragement. As they finished their coffees, a sense of purpose settled over him. They could build resilience in the face of doubt. But as they left the coffee shop, a fleeting thought crossed his mind. Would that support hold when the opposition came knocking? With that lingering question buoying his spirit, they stepped into the bustling street. The urgency of their mission began to swell with each step. What story would they craft together? Would their gathering truly change anything for the better, or would it spark something unforeseen? Ethan and Anna walked down Maplewood's main street, the wind rustling leaves like nervous whispers. Their breaths formed little clouds in the cool air, punctuating the silence that hung between them. There was a weight in Ethan's chest, each step felt heavier, thoughts racing faster than his feet. "Do you think anyone will actually show up?" he asked, breaking the quiet. "If we spread the word, they will," Anna replied, her confidence unwavering. "People are looking for a reason to connect. Trust that." He let her words settle in, absorbing the warmth of her belief. Yet, the knot in his stomach refused to loosen. What if they gathered a crowd, and the stories shared were not filled with hope but anger and resentment? Fear of the unknown intertwined with the thrill of possibility. They reached the park where the gathering was set to take place. The sun hung low in the sky, its rays creating a warm golden hue that kissed the ground beneath them. Colors danced, vibrant reds and oranges signaling the start of autumn. Despite the beauty around him, Ethan's mind clouded with doubt. "Let us set up over there by the big oak tree," Anna suggested, pointing. "It feels welcoming." He nodded, though his eyes roamed the area in search of potential critics. Just as his anxiety began to creep back, the cheerful laughter of a child broke through his thoughts. A small girl, no older than 6, twirled around in a yellow sundress, spinning with glee as her mother watched. The innocence of her joy pierced through Ethan's worries, reminding him why they started this journey in the first place. "Okay. Let us grab some chairs and the materials," he said, shaking off his doubts and pushing himself to focus. The sooner they started, the sooner they could find their footing. Hours flew by as they prepared, constructing a simple wooden frame that would serve as the storytelling wall. Each row held promise, a space waiting to be filled with stories from their community. As they hammered nails and pushed in staples, more and more people began to trickle into the park. "Look, there's Mrs. Henderson again," Anna said, glancing over her shoulder. The old woman with the sharp tongue had returned, but this time, she was not alone. A group of familiar faces trailed behind her, neighbors, friends, even some strangers drawn by the buzz of anticipation. Ethan's heart raced. The sight of them filled him with adrenaline. Maybe Anna was right, maybe this really was what people needed. Just as voices rose in excitement, Ethan noticed someone else at the edge of the gathering. Jake, his best friend, stood just outside the group's warm light. His arms were crossed tightly against his torso, a concerned frown etched on his face. Unlike Anna, Jake's energy felt heavy and cautious. "What's up with him?" Anna whispered, worry creeping into her voice. Not sure, Ethan replied, scanning Jake's expression for clues. I should go talk to him. With a deep breath, Ethan made his way toward Jake. As he reached him, he could sense the tension radiating from his friend. Hey man, you okay? Jake hesitated, his eyes darting back to the group before locking onto Ethan. I don't know, man. I'm just not entirely sure about this. What if it all goes wrong? What if we open up a can of worms? Ethan felt the weight of those words. He could see it now, skepticism mingled with fear. What if it doesn't? He countered, his voice steadier than he felt. What if this makes a difference? Jake stared at him, uncertainty etched in his brow. As the crowd continued to gather, Ethan felt that spark of hope reigniting within him. He glanced back at Anna, who was chatting with Mrs. Henderson, her face lit up with passion. He wanted to believe they could create something beautiful, something transformative. The first murmur of people sharing their stories began to rise in the air, a wave of emotion swelled as real stories unfolded. If they could do this together, they could break down walls that held them apart, but would they truly be ready for what would follow? Just then, a sudden commotion interrupted the gentle flow of conversation. Ethan turned, heart racing. A figure emerged from the crowd, and he felt a shiver of recognition root him to the spot. Who was it, and what would it mean for their gathering? The moment felt electric, and Ethan's chest tightened with apprehension. What story lurked behind that familiar face, and how would it change everything they had hoped for? Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he followed the figure stepping into the soft glow of the gathering. It was Sam, a former classmate, who had left Maplewood years ago after being deployed overseas. Ethan remembered Sam vividly, the boy who could always make anyone laugh, the one who wore his heart on his sleeve. But that boy had returned a man, and Ethan could see how the world had shaped him. Sam's gait was slower now, purposeful but with an evident struggle. He wore a fitted jacket that seemed to swallow him whole, like he was trying to hide the scars that marked his past. The crowd started to quiet, murmurs falling into uncertain whispers. Is that really him? Someone queried from behind Ethan, breath hitching slightly as they recognized Sam. Wow, look at him, what happened? Another voice wondered, tinged with both concern and curiosity. Ethan felt his heart sink. He could sense the undercurrent of confusion rippling through the crowd. Anna caught sight of Ethan's furrowed brow and moved closer. You know him? She asked softly. Ethan nodded, words momentarily eluding him. He hadn't spoken to Sam since the accident that had changed everything. It felt surreal to see him here now, standing in this circle of shared stories and vulnerable hearts. Would he feel welcome? As Sam cautiously approached them, setting down the crutches that once were a part of his daily struggle, Ethan's chest tightened. In that moment, he could only think of the weight of expectations, not just from the crowd but also from himself. Anna's eyes sparkled with empathy. Let us give him some space, she whispered, but something deep inside Ethan urged him not to back down. He took a tentative step forward. Sam! He called out, his voice wavering but resolute. Startled, Sam turned, and for a brief moment, their gazes locked. A flurry of emotions crossed his face: surprise, hesitation, then something like relief mingled with fear. Ethan. It's been a while, he replied, glancing as if weighing his words carefully before speaking. It has, Ethan said, closing the distance between them. You okay? Sam chuckled, but there was a heaviness in it. Yeah, I guess that's a loaded question. Ethan felt urgency bubbling up inside him. This could be a moment of connection, a chance to validate Sam's courage. You're home now, that's what matters. We're all here to share and listen, he said firmly, glancing back at the crowd. You should share your story. Sam's eyes flickered toward the group assembled, and for an instant, Ethan thought he saw a flicker of hope. But then Sam's shoulders slumped slightly, and he shook his head, a hint of pain etched into his features. I'm not sure anyone wants to hear about that. Before Ethan could respond, a clearly emboldened neighbor from the crowd spoke up. You should. Stories like yours matter, Sam. We've missed you. The ripple of encouragement enveloped Sam. Ethan could see that familiar spirit emerging beneath the layers of doubt. People remembered him not just for the scars, but for the laughter and compassion he used to share. Maybe it can help someone, another voice chimed in. The atmosphere shifted, hope igniting where uncertainty once thrived. Ethan could feel the energy rise, the crowd growing bolder. They wanted to reconnect. They wanted to support. Sam shifted uneasily again, his expression a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. I don't know if I can talk about it all just yet. Take your time, Ethan said gently, hoping to ease the weight on his friend's shoulders. We're here for you. The air felt electric. What would Sam decide? Would he reveal the struggles he faced and reclaim part of himself in front of a community that had once known him? The gathering held its breath, sensing the pivotal moment unfolding before them, but could they truly connect through stories of pain? Would Sam find the strength to share his journey? Ethan waited, heart racing, for what would come next. Sam took a deep breath, his shoulders rising as the air filled his lungs. Silence enveloped the gathering, a tangible sense of anticipation hanging in the space between them. He adjusted his stance, and a flicker of resolve sparked in his eyes. All right, he said slowly, his voice shaky but growing steadier, I'll try. Ethan's heart swelled with pride for Sam. The crowd leaned in closer, a multitude of faces filled with empathy and understanding. Sam began, his words initially hesitant but soon flowing with a cadence that matched Ethan's earlier speech. I was deployed a while back, he started, looking down for a moment. And I lost more than just friends in that war. I came back feeling lost. The atmosphere within the crowd thickened with shared pain as they recalled their own struggles, their tales of loss echoing in the air. Sam's voice grew stronger, bolstered by the crowd's supportive energy. I thought coming home would mean I was safe, but it turned into my greatest battle. I could see everyone else moving on with their lives while I felt stuck in the moment everything changed. Ethan could feel goosebumps ripple across his skin. He wasn't the only one, the raw honesty had captured the hearts of everyone gathered. Sam looked up, meeting Ethan's gaze for a fleeting second, and Ethan sensed the unspoken bond between them, the struggle to reclaim their worth. Every day felt like a weight on my chest, like I couldn't breathe under the pressure of expectations. I was scared to ask for help, Sam continued, his eyes scanning the crowd, searching for connection. But then I remembered everything we talked about. I forced myself to step outside, to let people see me, not just the scars, but me. Cheers rang through the audience, a wave of validation washing over Sam. Encouragement sparked in the air, shifting tension into something powerful. Being here today with all of you, it's scary, but I realized I'm not alone in this fight. And maybe, just maybe, sharing this battle might help someone else who feels hidden, Sam finished, his voice dipping into the vulnerability they all had felt. Applause erupted, thunderous and supportive. The crowd stood, hands raised and clapping together, a unified expression of gratitude toward Sam's courage for sharing. Ethan felt a lump in his throat, overwhelmed by the solidarity of the moment. It was true, stories of pain had transformed into stories of hope, each heartbeat syncing with the growing realization that healing could come through unity. As the claps faded into cheers, Jake stepped forward, his expression softening. You are not just a soldier, he proclaimed, a voice full of newfound clarity, you're more than those ribbons or the judgments that people have thrown at you. We all are. Our stories connect us. Echoes of agreement rippled through the gathering, the words binding them in profound understanding, bridging the gaps of shame. Let us keep this going. Anna shouted excitedly. Let us make it our mission to create an open space, to allow every voice, every story to be valued. The crowd erupted in agreement and conversation flowed seamlessly, interspersed with laughter, spirit and encouragement, a tapestry of shared experiences unfolding before them. Ethan's heart soared, the shadows in his mind fading as he watched their newfound community come alive. Hope blossomed like vibrant wildflowers, rewriting the narrative of what his hometown could become. Each voice mattered, and together they were on the precipice of something extraordinary. He turned to Sam, who was enveloped in the praise from the crowd, the weight of his soul visibly lifting with acceptance. Ethan beamed at him, knowing what they had achieved was far greater than either of them had dreamed. "Let us plan our next gathering right now," Ethan announced, excitement bubbling over. "We'll celebrate our stories, share our victories and struggles. The first of many." The crowd buzzed with energy, enthusiastic hands shooting up to volunteer, ideas swirling in the air like fireworks in a night sky. Ethan stepped to the side, feeling a warmth spread through him, a sense of belonging unlike anything he had known. All their fears had morphed into strength, and the shadows began to recede, leaving behind the warming glow of connection. As the sun set, casting long shadows over Maplewood, Ethan realized this was just the beginning. The town was ready to embrace its complexities, its imperfections, and they would lead the charge together. In that pivotal moment, they stepped into the darkness, and with each story shared, they lit the way for others, igniting a spark of understanding that would ripple outwards. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the depth of the moment wash over him. They were building more than just a story wall, they were constructing a legacy of honor and connection that would define Maplewood for years to come. As he opened his eyes, laughter and camaraderie greeted him, the sound lifting his spirit higher. They were home, and with that, the journey had only just begun. You need to subscribe now to join us for more incredible stories that inspire and uplift. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now so the algorithm can share this message of hope. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this transformative journey and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this connection. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how essential it is to support our mission.